a question to the world, not an answer to be heard, or a moment that's held in your arms. And what do you think you'd ever say? I won't listen anyway. You don't know me, and I'll never be what you want me to be. They never see. All you wanted I could be. Now you know me, and I'm not afraid. And I wanna tell you who I am. Can you help me be a man? They can't break me as long as I know who I am. And I want a moment to be real. Wanna touch things I don't feel. Wanna hold on and feel I belong. And how can the world want me to change? They're the ones that stay the same. They can't see me, but I'm still here. They can't tell me who to be, 'cause I'm not what they see. Yeah, the world is still sleeping while I keep on dreaming for me. And the world is just whispers and lies that I'll never believe. And I want a moment to be real. Wanna touch things I don't feel. Wanna hold on and feel I belong. And how can they say I'll never change? They're the ones that stay the same. I'm the one now, 'cause I'm still here. I'm the one, and I'm still here. I'm still here. I'm still here. I'm still here.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Gootz's Disney Pod. So this week is Treasure Planet. I'm with my guest Tom Eschelman, and it's July 2nd right now, and everyone's still dying of COVID. We haven't cured this yet. So Tom, how you doing?
I'm not dying from COVID, so I feel good about that. But not. I don't know if there's anything else really to be feeling good about in the world. I mean, if you're not sick, then then it's a good day, I guess. But a lot of horrible stuff going down, right?
Yeah, it's been a wild 2020. I started this podcast last September, and I figured it'd just be fun to kind of talk to comedians about Disney, make fun of Disney, and talk about their careers. And now I feel like I'm documenting the end of society while
Right.
also reviewing Disney films, which is kind of interesting.
It's a weird juxtaposition. It's a weird.
It's a weird journey that the podcast has gone on, because last September people still had hopes and dreams when you interviewed them, and now it's like,
hopeful.
Have you gone back on stage since the virus hit?
I have not in the last few months. No.
Okay.
I think as Gotham Comedy Club mid-March, and that was my last my last stage time, and just been holding out, just trying to figure out what is going to be next. I know a lot of people, some people are getting on stage in the middle of the country, but as we all know, that's starting to shut down again too.
Yeah, I kind of feel like there were some comedians and some headliners who I really respected that, they went out to Dallas and stuff and did clubs.
Yeah.
No social distancing, no masks. And I feel like all you're doing is long-term damage to the genre of stand-up, because you're not going to become the next Seinfeld by doing shows in Dallas and New Orleans, where the fuck you are. All you're doing is getting that community sick, and then we have to sit on our asses longer,
Oh, come on, Ray. What happened to laughter is the best medicine?
Well, yeah. It used to be. Now it's masks are the best medicine.
All right. Yes. The masks.
Now, you're out in California, right?
I escaped to California. New York got intense, and I have family out here, and I thought, as opposed to being holed up in my studio apartment in the Village by myself for potentially years on end, I would at least get near some family in case something went down. And I got a brother out here and his family that I've been staying nearby. And my mother's actually not very. If she gets it, she's gonna be in trouble. She has a lung disease, so just being near within a drive to her if we had to be. It was a strategic move. I thought, didn't know how long it was gonna be, but I've been out here. It's living out of the suitcase for a few months now.
Yeah, I think even though the numbers are really, the numbers starting to go up by you. I think it's like crazy, right? Are you by LA, or are you by like?
I'm actually in Santa Barbara, which is a little bubble compared to San Francisco and LA as far as cases and such. So no one wants to hear in New York that I'm sitting in Santa Barbara when I talk to New York friends, because the beach hasn't closed here, and it's a little more lax than LA, but it's still a serious thing.
I actually spent the 4th of July 13 years ago in Santa Barbara.
Oh, all right. Well, then you know all about it.
I know all about it. Yeah, they had a wine and cheese bar. Me and my friend, we're two New Yorkers, started to get into a big fight about Star Wars, and everybody just started staring at us because we were just screaming at each other about the Death Star. And I guess nobody does that over there. Huh? Nobody just starts yelling at each other.
Yeah, it's frowned upon.
Okay. Don't really do that there.
We prefer everyone just have a good time. Flip flops, sunshine, be cool.
Yeah.
But the New York attitude, you definitely stand out when you come in with your New York takes on every little topic, especially Star Wars. If you're gonna blow up a beach bar with Star Wars.
Yeah, it was a wine and cheese bar. It was one of those right by the water.
Oh, perfect for you.
Yeah, so we're just yelling about that's one of the things in the first Star Wars. But I think you made the right choice, because I just heard this week that Caroline's isn't going to open till sometime 2021. Yeah, and I kind of feel like Gotham and all those other clubs are going to have to follow their lead. So I don't think New York is going to be viable for stand up for a while. So
it feels like that. I'm trying to decide if I sublet my apartment and dealing with all that type of business. And obviously I want to be in New York. That's where it's at. LA and that scene is not my first choice, but who knows? Maybe we'll all be moving to LA. But
I know. Well, the numbers keep going up. None of us will be moving to LA because LA is getting out of control now.
Yeah, it's it. Where can we go? Do they do that? Where is not Iceland? Maybe we can go to Iceland.
Korea.
Oh, they're
Korea.
Good. Yeah.
And they do English. Somebody said they have English shows in Korea, so. So I guess
there you go.
We could do shows in Korea but then this is what's gonna happen. There's gonna be like a country where everyone's healthy, and then all the dirtbags from the United States are gonna move to that country and reinfect.
It'll be stand-up comedians for sure.
It'll be stand-up comedians, because it'll be like, we can just do a show at this bar, and
and no one gives a shit if for stage time. Comedians will do absolutely anything. So
I've learned that during this crisis. That I've spoken to some comedians. I'm like, let's just wait a few months, and they're not waiting. They need to get on stage. It's insane.
Can't wait. I mean, you lose. I mean, I remember the days when a comedian would talk about how I haven't been on stage in a week, and they're losing their mind, and they're losing all their skills, and yeah, probably. But now you got a few months to think about it, and God, hopefully not a year and a half or two. You never know the news these days.
I know. Well, they're doing outdoor shows here in New York. I'm doing one next week, next Friday.
All right.
And then I'm doing one. I just got booked on another one, and these are all in Astoria, where I live. One on August 1st, but I'm not. I don't consider this a return to stand up. I'm just like, all right. So I'm doing outdoor shows with people I trust. I'm not going to do any indoor shows because again, I feel like you do an indoor show, and all you're doing it's short-term gratification, but long-term you're doing more damage to the business, and it's never going to go back the way it is if we just keep trying to cheat the system.
Are there really even indoor shows in New York right now? I mean, I heard a
comics,
couple here there, but it's all but stopped again, right?
Yeah, but some comics are doing them underground because people will. I don't know. I just feel you're hurting. How much money can you really be making on illegal underground shows? And also,
I don't know. I wasn't making much money on legal inside shows. So,
the money in legal indoor shows is in theaters. You can't have an illegal. You can have an illegal comedy show at the Beacon Theater. Like you can't have John Mulaney has a bootleg show.
Now Seinfeld going to come up with that. He'll be the one since he has the money. He'll do something where he's in some type of a bubble or something. And
yeah. Well, Chappelle's doing. Chappelle owns this huge land, so he's having shows on his land.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I saw that. Oh, there you go. That's what it's going to come to. It's going to be like what they used to do in Greece or something when they had the orators and they're probably outside. I mean, that's probably what it's all come. God, what a nightmare. That's what it's coming to.
So let's get to know you. Let's get to know the mystery behind the man of Tom Eschelman before we talk about Treasure Planet. Tom, how long were you doing stand-up?
It's about 10 years. If you count the stop and the start, I had a stop and start in the middle there, but it's cumulatively, it's been just over 10 years. So,
and what made you get into it?
I had some people in my 20s who were there just like, you should do stand-up type of thing, and were encouraging. And I just I somehow ended up being the sidekick to all my buddies who were getting girls, and I wasn't. And and I had to develop a personality because nothing was happening, and I ended up being that guy who could entertain their friends and this and that. And I tried to get on stage in my 20s, and I couldn't do it. I took a class in LA. I grew up in Southern California. I took a class in LA, and I never even made it to the show at the end because they were teaching, what was it, like late night set up punchline type stuff, topical jokes. And I was just a jackass with my buddies who could make them laugh. So I just lived with a lot of fear, but wanting to do it all my 20s. And I never could get on stage. And it wasn't until 9/11 hit, of all things, that I finally got the courage, that horrible tragedy. And, people are jumping out of buildings and stuff. The least I can do is get on stage and stop being such a wuss about it. And
yeah.
That's when I started. I was living in Ohio, of all places. Started at the Improv in Cleveland. That must have been 2001, 2002. So did it for a couple years, got in over my head, come from some big audiences, and just bombed so hard that I couldn't even live with myself. I didn't know what to do. I just said, well, obviously I'm not supposed to be doing this. And went on to figured, okay, maybe I'll just be an actor, like a comedic actor or something like that, or an improviser or something. So I started getting involved in Second City. They had a theater in Cleveland, and started doing regional theater, and doing commercials and regional commercials and national commercials, made a little money doing that stuff. And then moved to LA, think I was going to be an actor. And 8 years of all that, and I just burnt out on the hustle of it because it wasn't really what I wanted to do. I had decided, screw it. If I'm just going to keep beating my head against the wall for 8 years in this industry, another 8 years, why not do what I really wanted to do to begin with? And I just went back to stand up, and been going at it since. So only been in New York though 3 3 or 4 years. So
yeah, I just met you like a year ago or so, right? Because Linda was throwing you on the Monday Night Gootz shows.
yeah. So yeah, it takes time to kind of matriculate in and have some relationships and get decent enough where people trust you to you take stage time and the whole thing. But I felt like I was getting some good momentum out there in New York.
Well, yeah, I
finally.
definitely
And
were
all
seeing you
this,
more. You were at Governor's and
yeah,
Caroline's, and then the world ended.
yeah. Then everybody said, "Hey, stop, take a breather, rethink your life." And I picked up some book, the early stages, how to stop thinking negatively, or
Mm-hmm.
how to stop negative thoughts. And it just started listing all the things that to do, and I was doing every one of them. I was just like everything every day. I was just like, we're fucked, we're fucked, we're fucked.
Yeah.
It's what your self-talk was. And I'm like, you couldn't watch the news in that beginning month or two, just thinking we're all screwed. And now we're used to being screwed. So hey.
Well, I mean, I'll wake up in a good mood and I'll go for like a nice. Now I go for walks just to stay in shape, and I'll get back from my walk and I'll check Twitter, and you're just like, everyone's gonna die. Like, like like you just look at Twitter for like a few hours, you're like, everyone's gonna die.
It seems so hopeless in so many ways, and every step we take is another 2 steps back to 1 step forward, or 3 steps back. And I don't know. I don't know if we haven't. I don't know. Is there hope? Is there hope in this podcast going forward? Disney's our only hope at the end.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, at least on Treasure Planet there is. But spoiler alert: how the movie ends. The movie doesn't end with COVID killing everyone. I don't know. It's just
exactly right.
I'm constantly surprised how selfish everyone is, and I've been very disappointed. Again, like I brought up those comedians that. This comedian who I really thought, I don't want to say his name because not these other guys do this. What?
Right.
Oh, I thought you said say the name. Okay, no.
Oh, no. I said, no, I agree. So let's just say his name, Seinfeld.
Yeah, Seinfeld. I really thought this guy was like the future. And then I just see him at the moment they lift precautions. I see him in Dallas at the beginning of June, and he's running on stage, and it's like, why would you do that? And why would they book someone? Because New York just got better. Why would you fly someone? And then I looked, because when I saw the video, it was 2 weeks later, and the numbers in Dallas are going through the roof, and the hospitals were overrun, and I'm just like, didn't you consider that could have happened? Like, why? You couldn't sit in your house for another month? Like, I want to go on stage too, but like, if you put people in a room, what we do is now very dangerous, which is so weird to me because this was literally and you can't put people in a room and it's very disappointing just to see people kind of be like, I need my gratification over the future of the country, or
It's a weird thing. I mean, do you take what's your take on the idea? Like, I'll talk to some people who are just like, well, we just all have to get it now. So let's just go for it. And the economy, we need I mean, on one hand, you kind of can go, okay, probably we need the economy to come back, but I don't know what the answer is. Like, slow play.
My thing is, if you try to just force the economy to come back, it's going to cause long term. Because let's just say we all just say, fuck it, who cares, right? Everything's back to normal. I mean, 100% back to normal. You're going to see a lot of people sick, a lot of people in the hospital. The hospital's going to get so overwhelmed that what happens is people are just going to start dying at their houses. It's going to cause way more people to die than necessary. Yeah. And then the economy is going to have to stop because there's going to be no choice. And it's going to be a constant start and stop. Whereas I think if we all just, and again, we kind of need the president and the government in on this, if we all just take a breather for a few months, and at this point, I think we're going to have to take a breather at least until March, which is not going to happen, which means this is going to go longer.
Right.
If we take a breather, and the government supports us with this breather, I think, by January, I think not January, in my mind, I think if we had done this in March, by September, we could go back to indoor shows and stuff.
Yeah.
But we didn't do that. We just were like, we're bored, and we didn't come together as a nation and make this necessary sacrifice. So I feel like this is going to be a constant long-term thing until there's a vaccine.
I was reading something, I think it was in the New Yorker, about how
Mm-hmm.
Iceland was able to do it and not shut down their economy, but
Mm-hmm.
get a total handle on it. But what they did was they took all of their detectives and put them on tracing. Anytime
Mm-hmm.
anybody got it, they were doing a deep dive. What were the last 50 people these people were around, and cameras and stores and everything.
See, people are
And
never gonna do. People would never
we're
do that
never,
here. You never do
never
that here.
gonna,
That's why you
never.
have to just do. The reason why other countries
We
are
got,
able to kind of beat this is other countries have this thing where the country comes first, where it's like Korea says everyone's gonna die unless we do this, and everyone just does it. You
yeah,
know,
yeah.
here in the United States, it's like, well, I don't give a fuck if that guy
No.
dies. I gotta fucking go get a cheeseburger. Like, you know, you can't talk somebody out of it. It's like,
Yeah, and the guy at the top is kind of saying, "Hey, everyone for themselves. Fuck it."
yeah, everyone for the and it's like I gotta live my life, and you know, it's very much like I've got to do my thing, and that's why I don't feel like we're not gonna get out of this. And here's the long term effect. You know, like I'll give you an example. A place like Caroline's now expects, all right, we're gonna reopen beginning of 2021, right? That's what they think.
Yeah, yeah,
That's a huge space. It takes a lot of money to operate, takes a lot of money to run.
yeah.
If this keeps going and going and going and going, eventually that place has to be like, you know what? This is just taking too long. We're done. We want to keep going, but like, you know,
Sure.
and other big places are going to have to do the same thing. And you're going to, you know, you're going to see businesses have to shut down because everyone kept starting and stopping. And, you know, instead of just being like, everything's done for 6 months, the government's going to throw you money and
Yeah,
we'll recover. We'll take it from there. Because people, I think if like we just took 6 months off, at the end of 6 months, people would have, you know, people want to go out. People want to spend money.
right. Of course.
So I think you would have saw clubs packed and movie theaters packed and bars packed, but we didn't do that, and I don't know. Now I don't know what's going to happen.
Do you think? I know, you know, some of the European countries, they close their borders. So
Mm-hmm.
like Germany and such, and of course, you know, we're not into doing that here. But it almost feels like the states need. If we don't close the whole country, then you close the individual states maybe. But that's never going to fly either here.
Yeah,
So
there's nothing that's going to like stop this is going to fly because everybody's special and everybody wants to do their own thing, and you know you can't convince people in this country to put everyone else above themselves. They just don't want to do it.
What about the idea that people are saying at worst it's still a 1% death rate? So what if we could do it in a way where the hospitals aren't overwhelmed? Everyone just charge it. We have people get it, and then only 1% die. I mean, I don't know. Versus the whole economy tank.
I see, but like, I just think like 1% is still a huge number of people. It's still like a lot of people for hospitals to take care of, and if hospitals get overrun, and that you got to take into account people can't get treatment for other things. Like I had EMT friends who were telling people like, oh, I have this, I have that. Listen, if we bring you to the hospital, you're going to die of COVID because they had other pre-existing conditions that you could go to a hospital for usually. So 1% of the population, okay, yeah, let's just go about our lives and let the 1% die. That's going to cause more people to die because everyone's going to be so overwhelmed by the amount of corpses.
Yeah.
So then it's going to bring up more death, and then things are going to shut down. Then things are going to have to shut down, just to get a handle on gaining control, so it doesn't go to 2% or 3%. So I don't know. I just think the solution should have been unity in March. And
having talked to people around the country and friends and such, it's just like it really seemed like everyone was watching it on TV like, well, this is a New York problem.
Yes, yeah.
You know, and they weren't, and I was like, look, you guys got to do the same thing. It's just whether you're going to do it sooner. If you do it sooner and shut everything down, then you're going to be able to get a handle on it. But
yeah,
you know, nobody wants to tank their economy on purpose if they don't think it's really a threat. You know,
well, I think
at their front door yet.
I think if you had Trump say on TV it was a threat, people would have taken it seriously. But you had, you know, the governor of New York constantly beat into people's head that this is a real thing. That's why it's so weird to me sometimes to see people in New York not take it seriously. That's bizarre to me. But other states, you have your governor telling you this is bullshit. You have Fox News telling you it's bullshit. You have the president telling you it's bullshit. That's why leaders count. Like I've learned through this that leaders count. Like, what a leader says, people take to heart, and people apply it to their lives.
Yeah.
And you could shit on people like Reagan and Bush, but they didn't go on TV and say dumb, goofy shit.
I'll gladly take any of the old school Republicans. At this point, of course. I mean, just anybody who's for the people a little bit, or just has their brain a little bit on straight.
Yeah, and then I realized it's what the president says is like, I'm at the point now where I think if the president went on TV, just started having sex with a 9-year-old, said, by the way, I'm legalizing having sex with kids. It's totally cool. I think people would defend it. I think people would be like, well, why not? There's no, and they would produce weird studies. There's really no long-term psychological effect on children. Like there would be this weird.
Well, 43% of the country
would be cool with it. Like, whereas in the past, if Reagan came on TV and said that, I think the whole country would just be like, get that man out of the White House. But Trump, I just feel like people would just be like, yeah, you know what? I actually always wanted to bang a 5-year-old. I don't see the problem.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because I have friends who are Republicans or acquaintances and things, and I tell them, like, look, this is your chance. If you guys can vote him out, you guys have a chance to get your party back. Then it can revert, and it's not like Biden's the most sharpest tool in a lot of people's minds. So then you have a chance to beat him in 4 years. Like, come on, guys, get on board. Let's just get it back to some sense of normalcy, some range of political characters that we're all used to. I'm sick of having to know what's going on all the time. I remember the good old days where it's just a politician running the damn thing, and you're just like, yeah, I guess the economy, the interest rate's a little bit better, bad. Like, but come on. Why do I need to know everything?
There's so many things that Obama did that, like, if we knew, we would I think he sent drones, and the drones murdered children. But at the same time, it's like, all right, but we didn't have a virus killing all of us, and you know what I mean? It used to be nice, the president did all this horrible stuff in secret. Yeah, but I'm able to perform stand-up and go to the movies.
Well, just don't say that take into a podcast that lives forever. That you'd rather have us bombing other countries than us losing our stand-up comedy.
I mean, you get my point. It's like Barack Obama would have taken this seriously. I mean, I don't know. I always heard things like he sent drones at their children.
No,
That's the big thing Republicans use. And I'm like, well, who were the kids? Were they? I'm joking. What were these kids up to? Were they playing Fortnite? They might deserve it.
Well, you got me on that. But you have a point on Fortnite watchers.
Yeah, this turned to a dark Disney podcast. Hey, tell me about your childhood.
This is about Disney.
Yeah, this is about
my
Disney.
childhood.
Yeah. Tell me, what was your childhood? You grew up in California?
I did. Just born in Ohio. Grew up in just east of Pasadena, about 20 minutes east, in a town called Claremont, which good little town to raise kids. My parents Midwesterners, and oldest of 5, and don't really have a dark childhood story. I mean, that's a lot of comedians. They come from some pretty rough stuff, but is pretty healthy and normal. Played a lot of sports, that type of thing. But grew up playing sports, watching some cartoons. Yeah, I know you.
Yeah, what cartoon? Were you into cartoons, Disney movies as a kid?
It was. I was trying to think. What I remember seeing 101 Dalmatians, I think, in the theater. I don't know when that came out. You probably know that.
It came out in the 60s, but back in the day, you were a kid in the 70s, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So back in the day, they would re-release movies in theaters every 7 years before VHS. So I saw Cinderella in the theaters as a kid and Snow White. But that's how they would make money on these movies. They just put them out every 7 years, and people would have new kids, and these new kids would go, and
Yeah. So, I was trying to think. I was definitely into Disneyland because we were driving distance from there. So going there as a kid a lot. And and that was more into Disneyland than probably the films. But you knew what the films were, or the books and the Cinderellas and the Snow Whites and all that stuff. But trying to think of Disney films. other than that I really would watch. And it's just all the other normal cartoons. Like
Well,
Bugs Bunny,
what were some other cartoons? Can we talk about other cartoons too?
yeah, Bugs Bunny for sure.
Oh yeah. I feel like a lot of
and
comedians
just
preferred
the
Bugs Bunny
classic.
over Disney.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just so accessible. It's on your TV all the time. And
Mhm.
back then you didn't have DVD and things to watch. You know, you probably would watch it. I mean, my little niece and nephew that I'm hanging out with here in California, they know what Disney Plus is, and they watch all those things. So
Yeah.
it's just a lot more accessible. But yeah, Star Wars was the big thing I think I got into.
Yeah, me too.
That was the first movie. I actually was old enough to see it in the theater.
Mhm.
I remember my parents dragging us like it was the last weekend ever showing. And, you know, back then, if you didn't see it in the theater, you never saw it for your life.
Yeah.
It's done. It's done. So I remember them dragging us to Hollywood and watching in some private man's Chinese theater. Like last weekend is available because every kid knew what it was. I was 7 years old. And, you know, that just blows your mind when you're 7. You know, then you own every action figure and the whole thing. And just, that was the big thing then, as far as more than cartoons even, I would say.
Oh yeah. Well, that movie was just such a. I think people forget because now, you know, sometimes I'll see like young kids be like, "What's the big deal with Star Wars?" And I'm like, you don't understand. Like, there's no action movies today.
Yeah.
There's no Marvel. There's no Lord of the Rings. There's no anything unless they make that Star Wars movie. We'd still be watching like films about like married couples. Who wants to see that shit?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that used to be the big movies. Like, you know.
Yeah. Taxi Driver,
an affair to
Godfather.
remember. The Way We Were. Those are the movies that people went to go see. They didn't go, you know. Now it's like, who the fuck wants? Oh, what happens? People get married, have kids. Fuck that. Let's go see.
Right. Was it the first real action?
Well, it was the first
movie, like that was with technology. Like, I don't know.
It was there was nothing that technologically advanced. There was nothing that deep into sci-fi.
Yeah.
It was very like. Because when you remember when you watch that movie, they just act like, you know, Darth Vader shows up, starts yelling about the Rebel Alliance and stuff. They don't give it any explanation of what's going on. It's just like you're in the middle of the story.
Yeah.
Like your dad was a Jedi Knight, I was a Jedi Knight. We've got to go. The Alderaan. They don't tell you what Alderaan is. So they never really made a movie like that before. It was always like Leslie Nielsen in a jumpsuit yelling at robots. Those were the sci-fi movies before this.
Right.
Yeah.
And it was so easy to understand. Like so easy who's good and who's bad.
Yeah.
And the bad guy, and the story was so coherent. I remember being, as a kid, just being able to embrace it. Whereas like so many kids things now, I'm just like, God, so the story is so twisted or whatever. I actually thought a little bit about that with the movie we're going to talk about.
Okay.
Today, watching it with I watched it, not to necessarily jump into that, but I watched it with my niece and nephew, 7 and 9.
Okay. What'd they think about it?
Well, I told them up front, look, because I'm kind of like being the nanny right now, partly with these kids. So I'm like, look, we got to watch this movie. And they didn't want to watch it. And I'm like, look, we're going to do a podcast in New York City. We're going to need your opinion. And, and the little 9-year-old's like, the little boy's like, this is going to make me famous. And I'm like, it could. So your podcast allowed me to control a 9 and a 7-year-old.
Oh, that's good.
The other night. So they totally enjoyed it. The little boy who's 9 gave it 8 out of 10.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And the little girl, he said that was a really good movie. The boy's like, this is a really good movie. And I watched them watching it as much as I was watching it, because I'm like, how are they picking up on the nuance of all this stuff?
Yeah.
To me, it was a pretty like elaborate. Are they just looking at the fancy bright lights and all that dynamics? But they listen and get the little girl was like, it was confusing because he liked the bad guy, or he didn't like the bad guy, then he liked the bad guy, then he didn't like the bad guy, and then he liked the bad guy, which was that's
basically the best summary of this movie I've ever heard. Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, that's what I was confused. Like it wasn't. And so we're talking about this, but she still gave it 10 out of 10.
Oh, wow.
Which I think she was just trying to beat her brother at that point But
Wow.
I thought it was she's a pretty sharp little girl. She's 7, and she picked up on that. I'm like, you noticed that they had the relationship between there was so many characters and so many things going on, and she picked up on that.
Well, that's like kind of the it's strange because I thought before I saw this, I thought that the kid, when I started watching them, I thought the story's going to be about the kid falling in love with the captain because there's a female captain. And then it turns out the captain and the kid don't even look at each other. She starts banging the old man alien.
Right.
But the main relationship of the movie, and now did you ever hear of the original inspiration behind this, Treasure Island? Did you ever hear about that book?
Well, I mean, I knew about Treasure Island because I go to Disneyland and there is a Treasure Island.
Oh, there is a Treasure Island, isn't there? There's also a Treasure Island casino in Vegas too.
Well, I know. Oh, well, that too. Yes, I heard of both of them. So I didn't even put that together because I just watched the movie cold, and then after I watched it, I did a little research on what this was, and of course, it came from the inspiration Treasure Island, the book, and the writer who. Did
you ever read the book or no?
I don't remember reading the book, but I remember going to Disneyland many times. You go and play on this island called Treasure Island. It's this big adventure and it's fun and everything else. And there's a story behind it, but I don't remember actually reading it.
Well, the book, they made a movie version of this in the 50s with the kid who called, not Treasure Planet, Treasure Island, with the kid who did Peter Pan's voice, who died a homeless crackhead. But that was the story I told on the Peter Pan podcast, which is very depressing story. He died 31.
Oh, God.
Disney had to pay to bury the body. It's really weird. Anyway, but
wow.
It's really sad. That was when they hid that shit. No, they didn't reveal the kid died like that until years later. Because back then you hid that, you just pretend celebrities went off to live happily ever after somewhere. They didn't do drugs and fail.
Oh, God.
But that's probably what they based it on. But when my mom was a kid, Treasure Island was like the Harry Potter of I guess the 40s and the 30s, I guess. That's what all the boys read. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
And this was just the Disney, I thought, definitely knows what they're doing. Because
what do you think of the movie overall? You're watching it as a man, as a man's man.
Right. So I'm a man's man. Well, I don't watch a lot of kids stuff. So, I mean, to be honest, I'm getting into it. I'm just wondering, when is Eddie Murphy and a donkey going to show up?
That's Mulan. He shows up in Mulan. Yeah.
I'm like, come on. Give me something. Give me something to kind of have some adult levity and whatever. But, I appreciate the story, I guess. I mean, I'm just trying to watch the thing, and I mean, my first thought is it looked like the kid and his mom could be getting together. They look like they're a good couple together. Right off the bat, I'm like, because it's hard to make cartoon characters look old unless you're gonna give them gray hair or wrinkles, and they give her no wrinkles, and he's a 12-year-old boy or something.
But he looks like he's a 23-year-old supermodel. Yeah.
Yeah, he's Zac Efron. I mean, does Zac Efron exist?
Joseph Gordon-Levitt did the voice.
Yes, I saw that. But I mean, he looks like Zac Efron.
Yes, he did. He looked like Zac Efron. Yeah.
And then, at the beginning, when he's just a teenager, he's about the same height as his mom, and I'm like, these two could totally be a couple.
Well, he dances with the mom at the end of the movie, and I'm like,
I saw
they have all the couples together. He's with his mom, and I'm like, what?
I thought that too. I was just like, did I miss something? I mean. Because they kept throwing little turns in it, whereas because I'm watching the kids a little bit and watching the movie, I'm like, did I miss something important where they weren't really? But I thought that I was waiting for and then they show the captain, and I'm like, good Lord! I mean, could you draw a sexier cartoon character?
Well, there are sexier cartoon characters, but that's getting that's a whole.
Sorry, that's a whole nother podcast. Sorry.
Yeah, when I was watching. A lot of these movies I never watched, and I'm watching for the podcast. And you get the Hunchback of Notre Dame or Pocahontas, and I watch the special features to get background. And I know these movies take a lot of work. So it's people always act like the cartoon character is sexy, not on purpose. No, that is on fucking purpose because the amount of time you have to spend. It's not when you I used to film sketches and I would cast actresses, and sometimes these actors would show up with shorts with their asses hanging out, and that's not on me. You know what I mean? They just showed up, but to draw a cartoon, I have to sit at a desk for hours drawing some girl's ass hanging out of her shorts.
Yes.
Yeah.
I just hadn't watched a kid's cartoon like that in a long time. So I'm just like, whoa. I'm like, the captain, her waist was like nothing, like 3 inches, like they went all the way in, and then her legs are as long as can be, and she's wearing stilettos with thigh-high like boots with a heel that go up to her mid-thigh. Like, yeah, you just want to keep the dad's attention, I guess, in the middle of the film.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I was saying, have you ever seen Incredibles?
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, Elastigirl has an insane ass. And then I finally watched. I was watching these special features of that, and Brad Bird basically said that's on purpose, that she has an ass like that.
It must be. I mean, what are you drawing it? I mean, there's some, and Disney has to approve it, so you gotta push that through.
It's not like someone's sitting there like, oh my god, I just drew an amazing ass on this cartoon character. Oh, I was just like thinking about lunch, and like, no, you fucking sat there and like you probably had a picture of a girl on the internet, and you're like, oh, okay.
It was interesting that I was watching with children, so I was kind of like, is that really necessary to make her that sexualized? I mean, this, this little boy's 9. Do we really, and the best part is not until the end where she is together with the older, I guess,
David Hyde Pierce,
like you said. Yeah. And like their faces right next to each other. I'm like, is she a cat? And
she's a cat.
Dog. And he's a dog. It never even dawned on me. It
was weird that they had kids, and I'm like, well, how did that work?
Yes, that's what like, it was strangely. Since I hadn't watched the kids' animation thing in a while, it's just interesting what they do to show that they're into each other, like the little flirty comments they would make, and then just the knowing look. And I'm sitting there, when she gave him the knowing look, that means they're boning. That's the bone look. That's and then of course they had babies the next.
They had like 5 babies, so they had a lot of sex. They were having sex all night long. Like it's,
right.
So I never saw.
Go ahead.
No, I never saw this movie. It kind of bombed when it came out. It came out in 2002. I was 21. Where were you? It just came out the winter of 2002. What were you doing the winter of 2002?
2002. I was doing stand-up in 2002.
In Ohio.
In Ohio, of all places.
And nobody really talked about this movie in the stand-up circuit.
Well, I was thinking about that. Like, messing around the industry for almost 20 years, I usually know about or hear about, and this was right as I was getting started, so I was surprised that I'd never heard this film. When you mentioned it to me. It
kind of bombed, and right now, like, Pixar this is where the Pixar would have a movie one year, Disney would have a movie the other year, and Pixar, they didn't own Pixar yet, but Pixar is like so outclassing them because they made this movie around the same time frame as Finding Nemo, and I finally saw Finding Nemo, and that is a movie. That's a movie.
Yeah.
I
saw Nemo. I even saw Nemo and enjoyed Nemo.
Yeah, Nemo is, and then this thing I like. Now, there's things about this movie I really like. I like the complicated relationship between the pirate. I had the Wikipedia page. I just know the character's name. Sorry. What the fuck was the pirate's name? And this is a famous pirate name too. John Silver, Long John Silver. Okay.
Yeah, John Silver. Yeah.
Yeah, and Jim Hawkins. I like that relationship a lot because it wasn't
like a father-son.
But it was also kind of like you know what it feels? It feels more like a shitty older comic, younger comic.
Yes, where they're helping, but now I'm gonna get shit on you and fuck you over.
Yeah. Like I'll help you, but if you get to the night show, I'm not gonna speak to you ever again. Like that type of relationship. Which I kind of like that he didn't just automatically just like be the kid's best friend.
Yeah,
which kind of made it like more realistic. But I like that, and I like the little musical montage, even though it had a Goo Goo Dolls song. Where he's learning to like the kid.
That was the montage where they started doing it. It's the Goo Goo Dolls.
And he's thinking back to how his dad just fucking leaves him. I don't know what that mom did, but the dad he leaves in the middle of the day. He's like, I'm going. Doesn't even say goodbye to the kid. I want to know what the mom did to piss the dad off that bad.
It kind of feels realistic, though. It's just like, that could happen. And we don't need to know the
I'm just done with you. But like the dad doesn't say goodbye, and the dad like most of the time you hear stories where the dad lie. In real life, a father will lie to the family and then just vanish. This guy was like very clear, like, no, I'm leaving. I'm not coming back. You two are assholes. Fuck off. Goodbye, Jim. And just got on a ship and never
Yeah.
said
It was kind of an interesting Disney slant. Like, we're going to do the single mom thing, and that. But I took note of that in the movie because, first of all, it's like a montage with like a rocker singing over. So like, okay, this is a little different. But that's when my little nephew, who's 9, he just goes, "This is a really good movie."
Oh, okay.
Somehow he connected to whatever was in that montage.
I think that song in that montage, yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God, it's so weird to watch a Disney movie.
To me, that
next to a
montage
kid.
is kind of like the first time that movie actually has like emotion. Before that, I'm like just going through the motions. Like, I don't really know anything about this fucking kid. And then like you finally get, this kid's upset because of his dad, and at least this creepy old man is being kind of nice to him. Yeah. And so it's like you finally get to know these characters through that song, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it was a nuanced movie. I was kind of having to stay awake to kind of get they're on another planet. The new introduction of what was that? Who's the C-3PO character?
Oh, the robot Martin Short.
Yeah, yeah. We're just going to introduce him for the last third of the movie, which I kind of felt was a Jar Jar Binks type of character.
Yeah, he was like
Disney films.
Well. Jeffrey Epstein, shit, not Jeffrey Epstein. Jeffrey Katzberg, yeah. He made a decree that there need to be some comedian in every movie, starting with Buddy Hackett, who was in Little Mermaid. So if you go back and look, every movie they shove a stand-up comic in there, because it worked really well with Robin Williams. But Rosie's in Tarzan, which ruins the movie. What other comics are in? Shit. David Spade is in Emperor's New Groove. And so I think they were like, now Martin Short. But some of the comedians work, like Eddie Murphy worked in Mulan, and Robin Williams, Aladdin, enough said. You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course. That was good.
And you had Gilbert in Aladdin, which was also great. But this movie with Martin Short was like, I don't know if you need it. I don't know. This is kind of like taking away.
It felt a little, it did feel a little, well, whatever. I mean,
he comes in so late. You're like, well, this is kind of like a serious movie, and now this guy is like doing goofy jokes, and it's like
it could have been maybe if he was all the way through in the levity, but I felt like they kept trying to find the levity per day. I mean, my little niece laughed out loud at the fart machine.
The fart alien was pretty good. That was kind of like really raunchy for Disney.
for Disney. I was surprised. I mean, it's everything I can do to keep these kids from farting on each other all day. I mean, that's their thing. At 79, farting is their favorite thing. I mean, my little niece just farted in the car the other day when I'm watching that, and I had to get out of the car.
Jesus Christ.
They just love farting, and it's like you can't. I don't know what you do to get kids not so the fart monster thing. God!
This is the crazy thing about kids' toys nowadays, and I tried to do a bit about this, and it got kind of dark. But there's a lot of poop toys and poop. There's like a board game. I don't know if you saw this. I saw a commercial for this. There's a board game where you have to put a blindfold on, and you walk on the board, and there's like putty poop. What? And if you step in the poop, you're eliminated from the board game.
Oh, God.
And at GameStop, they had like little monsters. You buy a toilet, and there's like a poop monster in the toilet. There's like a lot of shit fetish things now for kids, which we didn't have. I don't remember that being a thing.
I'm good with that never existing, and let's pretend we don't do it. That's my generation?
I know. Yeah, that was my generation too. But like now, they're all about poop. So I did a bit where like, we're gonna run into like girls when they hit 21, they're gonna have a shit fetish, and you're gonna be like, it's gonna be like, why do you have a shit fetish? Well, when I was a kid, I had all these poop toys, and like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, who's not into poop?
Yeah, because it's like now it's like I didn't realize like poop was such a big deal with toys. I didn't realize like we're celebrating poop. You're right. Our generation hid from poop. We just wanted He-Man and G.I. Joe, and those guys did not poop. I don't know what they did. They didn't have sex. They didn't poop.
We're just running out of ways to push the envelope. Every generation has to push it, and so I guess ass, play, and poop. There you go.
The other thing I've seen this in like Rite Aid. There's a reindeer that poops out rainbow cotton candy, and you eat it from the reindeer's ass. Not the reindeer, unicorn.
You're making shit up now.
I swear to God, go to CVS and look at the candy toy section. You'll see there's a unicorn that you eat the poop.
Well, I thought it was pretty edgy for them to have like a fart character in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
Which I don't know if any animated anything I've ever seen just straight up just started farting.
No. I feel like that because that was also like they started making Shrek and all those movies. And those movies were kind of more adult, and I feel like Disney was like, we got to get more adult. Let's have a character just farts. And,
makes sense, yeah.
Yeah.
Because that was about that time where I would have enjoyed. I enjoyed those Shrek movies, and was for adults. Like I don't know, those movies weren't even for kids really, other than just they were animated, and I guess the toys were pretty cool. But
yeah, but no, I know like Shrek was the first time I remember adults started going to animated movies. Toy Story 2, like when I took a girl on a date to see Toy Story 3. And there was no fucking kids. You would have thought like we were seeing like, a Scorsese film. It was all adults. It was all date night, all adults. Wow. And the girl asked me to take her to it actually. Yeah. And she was hot. She had huge boobs. That's a whole other story. But nothing happened. No, she's married now, so whatever.
Well, that's how it goes.
That's how it goes.
If you go to a Toy Story for a date, I mean.
Yeah. Well, it was her pick. But I wanted to see it too. But now like Shrek was kind of like where adults started going to these movies and started taking them seriously as movies. Uh-huh. But so I feel like when they were making Treasure Planet, they're like, all right, we need to like get more adult, and I don't know if it worked. I think they were also kind of because they followed it because the book is same thing. They get on a ship, Long John Silver's undercover. He takes over the ship. They get to the island, and there's a guy on the island that's been there forever, but he's not a robot. He's a real dude. Yeah. But in the book, they get the treasure, they get back to the mainland, and Long John Silver betrays the kid and just leaves him and goes off with most of the treasure. And the kid just is poor at the end.
Right.
But he's like, even though Long John Silver's a dick, I did kind of like him, but he just vanishes. So this movie, they kind of had a happier ending. But I kind of feel like they should have went away from the book a little bit more because I kind of feel like once they got to the planet and they're dealing with the robot, it kind of like falls apart, the movie.
It got a little weird, and it got a little confusing to me just as an adult. Like I'm like, okay, I've seen animated stuff in the last 20 years, and it's just easy to follow, and the rest of it, I'm like, wow, for a kid, this is like, But,
like I was kind of like the planet, like with the treasure, and they have to find. I don't even know how really. I've seen this movie twice now. I don't know how the kid really figured out how to get to the treasure. I know like he just sees something on the ground and he presses it. But but I'm like, I don't know. I kind of feel like the last act needed some reworking, and then they killed the villain so fast. The real villain, the praying mantis guy.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard for me to criticize when I know how much work this goes into this. But I did kind of feel like, oh, this isn't Pixar. This isn't.
No, this is kind of like
the best. But then you look at $140 million budget to make this thing.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, and it was a bomb.
Holy shit!
It was a huge bomb. I don't know anyone who saw this movie.
Yeah.
That's why, like, I not that I struggle, but like, I kind of had comedians in mind for every movie, and then I got to this one, and I'm like, well, who am I gonna get for this one? And I'm like, you know what? Tom Eschelman might be good because maybe he read Treasure Island. I don't know. And he'll probably be fun to the shit on the movie with, but.
Hey, it was interesting. It was fun to watch it with the kids involved too, and seeing what they picked up on. And oh my God, I mean, Disney nailed it. If for no other reason, for ships and space. Yeah. I mean, for a 9-year-old boy, he's just all in. He's watching his iPad, couldn't control him. He's all in on that right there.
Oh wow.
So,
I know. I think it's kind of good to have Disney Plus because I feel like a lot of people never saw this movie, and I kind of feel like now your nephew who would have grown up never seen this movie saw it on Disney Plus, and this might be we might see a revival of some of these movies that bombed.
There was a quote in the movie I actually jotted down. I think it was the Long John Silver guy when he's asking him what happened to his body because his body's all contorted, and I think he said you give up a few things chasing a dream.
Oh, that's good for stand-up.
And I was like, well, I completely connect with that. If nothing
Yeah.
else, the hot captain cat girl and the and that quote there, I was like, there's a good use of my time just to hear that again from somebody
Yeah,
else.
that is a quote that you can apply to what we're doing.
Right? You give up a few things.
Have you?
But,
I'll tell you, I did a few Zoom shows, and I was actually going to bring back Milena Gootz as a Zoom show, and I said, and I did it, and I fucking hated it, and I was like, you know what? I didn't, because I was the manager at Caroline's for like 12 years before I went into running the show with Linda. I didn't fucking see all those awful, unfunny headliner shows to do comedy in Zoom. I didn't sacrifice all this to do this. I got to figure out another way to pursue comedy and pursue my goals than doing comedy on Zoom, you know?
Yeah.
How do you feel about Zoom shows?
I've been asked to do several, and I just can't get myself to do it. Maybe I'm just old school. I feel like I could have done a lot better in the day and age of maybe the 90s as a comedian, where you just go out, write some material, be good, somebody discovers you. But now with all the
Twitter
media and the Zoom, and are you podcasting, and God, you're a natural at it. I mean, I'd like to find. I just want to do stand up, but like, you don't get to choose sometimes in your era what you got to find other ways to get your voice out there. So I appreciate that people are trying, but I don't think it's stand up. It's something else. It's just FaceTiming with a bunch of strangers. So
it really, I really felt like I was ranting in my room to myself when I did it. Cause like, you have to do your act. Like you can't, and like, it didn't feel, it didn't get the joy I felt from on stage when you're killing on stage and, you know, being in a room. It's just like, you know what? I could probably like take a second nap during the day rather than do this. But you're right. There's so much extra stuff now with comedy where you have to have Twitter, and I've been trying to get more Twitter people, and it's just so hard. Everyone on Twitter just wants to yell at you.
It's you got to protect yourself in your sanity. So
I posted something. I follow this black guy, and I posted something in solidarity about what's going on with the protests, and this black girl started yelling at me that I'm white and I don't have and I'm like, I'm on your side. Also, I'm Mexican. And I said, can you just relax? And then she sent me like 9 tweets about how dare you tell me to relax with all the racial injustice. And I'm just like, I just wanted to say that I agree with you.
Right. Yeah, it's a good time, I've learned as a straight white male to kind of I'm gonna support my friends who have diversity and a rightful claim to make the world a better place. But it's hard to have a voice about it or even support, because you're right, like you can end up in these scenarios where you sound like you're not being supportive so easily, because I don't know all the nuance to all the different arguments maybe.
Well, I said, you know, we're probably not going to get out of this hole for months because we all elected Trump. And she goes, no, you elected Trump, white man. It's your fault. I didn't vote. I voted for Hillary. And also, like, fucking, I'm a Mexican. Like, what are you yelling at me? My whole family is going to be put in detention camps in about a week.
No, the word on the street is Mexicans who, voted for Hillary. Really, you guys are
I'm the problem.
You're the problem. You got Trump in there whether you like it or not.
It was just why everyone's so aggressive on Twitter. Here's the one thing though I did learn during this quarantine: if you like a girl and you're a male comedian, do not send her any fucking message. Just be like, call me.
Is
the Chris D'Elia, yeah.
Oh right. Oh that. Oh God.
Yeah.
Well, or just don't text people underage.
Don't text people underage, but also like
or like girls underage.
That's true. But also just I would not text any interest. Like put it in writing that you're interested in anybody at this point. Like just be like, hey, call me. You know.
That's going to come back to kill all of us at some point. Any texting conversations, I suppose, with people that have gone down a different road. But yeah, I'm definitely not gonna. I'm not going to get in bed with supporting that situation. You're not going to suck me into the D'Elia conversation, but just stay away from underage. I think that's a good message.
No, that's true. No, he did. People go like, I don't see anything he did wrong. It's like, I mean, the amount of girls he texted that were underage is like insane. Like, you can't tell me like, oh no, he didn't know. I mean, the amount of you have to know at a certain point, you know?
Yeah, that's not going to be good. I get it. I'm glad that's not my interest.
No, I know. But there's still comedians who defend him, and I'm like, you know, that's the sad part is he's like literally like sometimes I feel like there could be a video of him like he's gonna get booked at clubs again, even though he did all that. Like that's a whole other thing.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, stop doing illegal stuff. Can we just say that? Like,
yeah, I guess. Yeah, stop that. And also Jeff Ross. Jeff Ross now is also. I don't know if you saw that.
Oh no, I didn't know.
No. Yeah. There's some other people, but I don't want to say their names but there's some other. Apparently everyone raped everyone but me and you. We're the only two not having sex. I don't know if you have. I don't.
Good God. God. Well, I'm sure not going to admit it at this point.
We're the only two.
Made sex ever.
We're watching Treasure Planet.
Anybody. Yes.
We're two guys watching Treasure Planet like fucking lunatics.
Right. 10 years from now, they dig this up. They go, look, you on that Disney podcast said you might have had sex with somebody and texted them for some stuff. I'm not getting sucked down your rabbit hole, Gootz.
Sorry, I didn't mean to. Tom, if people want to follow you on social media or TikTok, don't do TikTok, by the way. That's a trap by the Chinese government, by the way. Every comedian is going to TikTok. You doing TikTok or no?
I had some people in the social media world trying to get me to do that a couple months ago, and
the amount of stuff that they can access on your phone is insane.
That's Trojan horse. Oh, nice.
And the Chinese got but also this is what they do. So every comedian has said this to me, and I've tried to. This is how desperate comedians are for attention.
Of course.
You post a video, you're going to get thousands. I mean, the video could be you brushing your teeth. You're going to get thousands and millions of likes and followers right away.
Right.
So you think that you have developed the following, and they do that. So
something.
Yeah, they do that so you post more and more, because as you post more and more, they have access to your apps. They have access to your phone. They can listen into your phone conversations. Yeah. And the app is owned by the Chinese government. So they will give you more and more, like, I want to say endorphins to get you to post more on TikTok.
Yeah.
Every comedian has a fan base on TikTok. And I don't have anybody on Instagram or Facebook or Twitter like I do on TikTok. Why do you think that is? Because they want you to post on TikTok.
Yeah, it's something. It sounds like it makes sense. I have friends who do different social media things, and not even stand up, but influencers or whatever, and they can't believe how many more people are eyeballs and they're getting on TikTok, of course, versus
because it's all fake.
These other platforms. So yeah, I mean, it makes sense if there's something pops up that's new and you're getting 10 million followers or looks at something that's nothing, no content that's worthy of that.
And I've tried to say
one more thing.
You can't talk because comedians have such egos. You can't be like, dude, your stand-up clip gets nothing on any other platform, but it gets 10 million views on here. You really think that's real? Of course it's real. I'm a genius. Why wouldn't I be like, you can't have a little bit of humility. Be like, obviously this is a fake because nobody's watching me on any other platform. But
well, okay. Well, you can't find me on TikTok. Then,
okay, where can we find you?
Good. Get me over on Instagram, Tom Eschelman, and go to my website, tomeschelman.com. I'm going to be setting up my YouTube channel and probably put all the stuff I've ever done up there, since I'm never going to be able to talk about that again because nobody's going to want to hear about me having a rough time dating. Who gives a shit about that? We're all dying, dude.
Yeah, you do. You have a great joke about going to a bar and talking to some girls at a bar, and like when you come back from stand-up, you can't do that joke. You have to be like, 8 years ago, I was at a bar.
That's right. Yeah. Now I gotta the whole thing is gonna change. Now all my material is gonna be about raising this 7-year-old and 9-year-old and watching cartoons.
Well, so, I mean, hey, you know what though? That might be. Yeah, a lot of my stuff I'm gonna have to throw out too, but it is what it is. It's the world. So
yeah, that's.
But you do have it. If you can check out stand-up, it's the bit where she asks you, "Do you go to you go to NYU, right, or something?"
Yeah, I have some bits about going to bars and being an older guy and talking to younger
Yeah,
girls and how
it's good.
they
Like you
never.
have a good. It's much. It has a much happier ending than Crystalia's. Okay, so.
Well, I'm not genuinely interested in underage women, but
No, I know, but it's a funny bit. It's a funny bit.
that's all right. Well, I appreciate that, and
Okay.
this was fun, man. I who knew that I could get into a Disney film and talk about it, and
Let me ask you a question because I don't think we ever got
yeah,
an answer on this before we sign off.
yeah.
Did you enjoy Treasure Planet? I know your nieces and nephews did.
I did, but
Okay.
I enjoyed it in the sense that I think what I
Sorry,
enjoyed
COVID.
most of no problem. Anytime someone sneezes or cough, COVID.
Yeah, COVID. Sorry about it. Sure.
I enjoyed mostly them watching it with me and seeing what they were getting out of it, and I was trying to follow it. But compared to other films that are kid films, it's so hard because the ones I gravitate to are toward those Pixar movies
Yeah.
and like the Toy Stories and the Shreks and those are just God. They're
Have you
so
seen
watchable
WALL-E?
and great. Oh yeah.
WALL-E is a great film, like just a great film. Period. You know?
Yeah. I remember seeing that in the theater.
Yeah, those I'm gonna be doing episodes about those after I get through all the Disney animation. I'm doing Pixar and it's
do that.
Yeah, because that's Disney too. So I'm watching those for the first time. And some of them are just like WALL-E and Up are like just incredible films.
Oh yeah, I remember seeing Up in the theater as well.
Ratatouille too is very good. Ratatouille was great.
Yeah, no, Ratatouille very smart. And I mean the writing on the stories was all very easy. I felt like this story was hard for me to and I wasn't familiar with Treasure Island, that thing. So it was a little confusing. And you're right. I think my little niece at 7 years old nailed it with, wait, he didn't like the bad guy, then he liked the bad guy, he didn't like the bad guy, and then he liked the bad guy.
But you know what? I like that relationship because I think for kids, it's good. Like not every relationship is black and white. Like you're gonna have people in your lives that are assholes, but you do like them. You know?
Yeah, it was an interesting layered cartoon.
Yeah, which you never really see.
Right, and I guess my mindset was not prepared for that because I kept thinking I was missing something. I'm like, wait, did they say
I kind of kept thinking like he's just gonna turn on the pirate because most movies like bad guy bad, you know?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah.
It's like, no, I am an asshole, but I do care for you, but also I also care about this money. And
and I kept thinking, okay, don't fall for the trap. He's gonna fuck you over, and then he would save his life.
Yeah,
and then it'd be.
Yeah. I thought it was an interesting thing to present to kids, which apparently the only two kids who ever learned that lesson were your niece and nephew, because nobody else saw this movie. Your niece and nephew are gonna have the Treasure Island fan club when they're in their 30s. They're gonna be like, my uncle showed us this for a podcast.
They're gonna enjoy hearing about they were part of a podcast in New York City.
So, guys, thank you so much for listening. For the new viewers on Tumblr, or listeners, thank you for joining us. I don't know if you ever heard of Tumblr, but I got a ton of listeners now from there. If you like this, if this is your first time listening to this podcast, you're a fan of Tom Eschelman, Treasure Island, Treasure Planet, Robert Louis Stevenson, or you're Crystalia and you're out for revenge, and you enjoyed this podcast, I have done every Disney movie from Snow White up to this. Next week, I'm doing Brother Bear with Amanda Gale, a very funny comedian, who actually is my first. Tom, this is interesting. I didn't know her in the real world. I met her in a Zoom show. So this is like my first Zoom friend. Isn't that insane? Like we only know each other through
I
Zoom.
know Amanda. Yeah.
You know Amanda? She's funny. Yeah. I didn't really know her, and then I met her through Zoom, and I do these Zoom meetings. You know Ryan DeCarlos?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I do Zoom hangs with him, and I met her. So she's my first Zoom friend. So we're doing Brother Bear next week.
Oh, cool.
But if you listen to this first time listener, you like this podcast, please subscribe to us on iTunes. It's Gootz Disney Pod. I'm also on Instagram at Gootz Disney Pod, Twitter Gootz Disney, and now on Tumblr at Gootz Disney Pod. And also I'm Ray Gootz. You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram. I post a lot of pictures of my dogs. On Facebook, I rant all day, so it's fun. And I'm losing weight still, so that's good.
Thanks for having me, Gootz.
Hey, thanks for doing the show. Guys, we'll see you next week with Amanda Gale and Brother Bear. Thank you so much, guys. Hold on. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Tom, you're doing a great job.